Healing Minds and Souls, a faith-based community dedicated to bringing trauma-informed care to the North Nashville community and surrounding areas through education, resources, and building relationships to develop healthy and a holistic community. Pastor Ella Clay will be talking about how we can stop allowing fear to overtake us regardless of our past, present, or future. Come and learn how to recognize signs and symptoms of trauma as we understand the emotional, physical, social, and spiritual impact of traumas. We will unpack the meanings of vicarious traumas and how to avoid moral injury as we actively avoid re-traumatizing ourselves and others. Let's learn together how to navigate life challenges of grief, trauma, pain, and/or isolation, and discover our innate strengths of courage, kindness, trust, perseverance, and become better equipped to experience a newfound confidence by not letting circumstances define our current existence or future selves. Join our show today with Pastor Ella Clay. She serves as senior pastor of the historic First Community Church and executive director of Healing Minds and Souls, 1815, Knoll Street, Nashville, Tennessee, 37208.
Good morning. Welcome to Healing Minds and Souls. Thank you so much for joining us on this morning where the beauty of the Lord is upon us and it is establishing the works of our hands. And we're grateful for how God looks after us, God provides for us, and gives us all things that we need that pertains to life and godliness. Thank you so much for joining, and we'll be right back after we hear from our sponsors.
Join host Dr. William Head each Thursday live at 4:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. The show is Let's Talk About It, chats with experts on their field, issues that affect everyone, and interviews with people who have found success in life.
The Tennessee Tribune is an African-American newspaper in Nashville, Tennessee. Its circulation is statewide Nashville, Chattanooga, Knoxville, and Memphis, Tennessee. It was founded in 1991 by Rosetta Irvin Miller Perry. Each week more than 150,000 Tennesseans read the Tennessee Tribune to keep a watchful eye on news and events shaping our community. They turn to the Tribune because it speaks to their needs with language and perspective, which reflects their way of life. Unlike other weeklies that have lost touch with important issues facing today's Black families, the Tribune offers a fresh and encouraging view on people and events that have a positive impact.
I'm Rosetta Miller Perry. I'm the publisher and CEO of the Tennessee Tribune newspaper. I've been in business for over 30 years. I started this business because I felt that the community needed to see information and read about all our wonderful businesses and other individuals in our community that have made positive steps and had positive influences upon our community.
Welcome to the Jefferson Street Sound Museum. Come on in. What we've got here's some of the folk that actually played on Jefferson Street, like DeFord Bailey. DeFord Bailey was one of the first blacks to play the Grand Ole Opera. And what I'm doing is building a legacy for the artists and musicians that played here on Jefferson Street that didn't get their just due or didn't make it to stardom while over here on Jefferson Street, like some of the artists and musicians that played over here, like Jimi Hendrix, Count Basie, Aretha Franklin, like Joe Tex, Little Richard, James Brown. Enlightened about what took place over here on historical Jefferson Street. We have pictures of different folk that came in here and visited. We have memorabilia. We have an area where we've got t-shirts, keychains, books, a number of different things that you can find to purchase, to take home, a souvenir from the Jefferson Street Sound Museum.
Are you tired of missing out on North Nashville's hidden gems? Our business library is your gateway to the city's best-kept secrets. Discover local hotspots, from mouth-watering restaurants to cozy hotels, and everything in between. But we don't stop there. Tune into our exclusive podcast for insider tips and book tickets effortlessly for top venues like the Grand Ole Opry, Tennessee Performing Arts Center, and the Municipal Auditorium. And sports fans? We've got you covered too. From the Titans to the Predators, you can purchase your tickets and secure your seats. From the North Nashville Library, don't let another exciting opportunity slip away. Click the link below to unlock the full potential of North Nashville living today.
On this morning, we have Dr. Sally Renee Granberry Lamont with us. She's from Brooklyn, New York. Thank you so much for being here. Dr. Sally was born in Harlem, New York. She attended primary school, the Harriet Tubman School, accelerated educational program in private school at the Walden School on 88th and CPW. She is a radiologist, and she has a fellowship in the cross-sectional imaging, also board certification, diagnostic radiology. She is married to Mr. Michael Lamont. They have sons, Akil and Jawan. And she has been a chief ultrasound, chief of ultrasound.
Right.
Wow, chief of ultrasound at the Brooklyn Hospital.
Yes.
And also the New York Medical Center. She was the chief of breast imaging. And we're so grateful that you are here on this beautiful morning. Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. We have talked previously, and I find that your route, your journey in life has been such, I would say, has been ordered. I would say it has been ordered by God in so many, many ways. And I think about even how when you started out in primary school, the Harriet Tubman School, that's such a, a name that will forever ring out in society because of her work and how she was a person that led individuals out of slavery into freedom. And so even with education is a way that we can have been led out of oppression, out of various forms of slavery, where has been systemic slavery, and it brings us into freedom. And your life is truly an example of that. I find it interesting how you attended private school, which was a wonderful blessing. And I want to talk a little bit about the importance of parenting, that how parents have been placed in a position that they can assist their children in achieving and doing the very best that they can in their lives. Can you talk a little bit about that, your upbringing, and what that looked like?
Yeah. Well, I was born to a single mother who came from Nashville, and after graduating from high school and came to New York to birth me, and with the help of my auntie, who was also a single mother, and she named Sally Clemens. So I was named after Sally Clemens, and we lived in Harlem, about 1 block away from the Apollo Theater, which is still in existence. There's all this reconstruction going on in that area. But my mother had big dreams, but became more of a vector for me to have my education. My school was a block away, and I don't think I really knew the significance of it until much later that it was named after the Harriet Tubman, leader of freedom.
Yes.
So, it led me to excel. I had wonderful teachers, and several of my teachers were Black women, and I was excited by that. And eventually we got a superintendent, Carrie Simpson, who was very determined that the students that were showing acceleration in their education abilities would be placed into private institutions. So that was sort of her primary role in getting me placed at the Walden School. Yeah, so that was a big deal.
Yeah, a big deal, and has proven to continue to be a big deal in your life. And I am just so impressed and really, really grateful that your mother had the insight, although she was a single mother. So that even says a lot now about single parenting. That's nothing new in our community, right? And in other communities as well.
That's for sure.
However, I think the power and how we can still take control of our families and control of the lives of our children and position them up for success. And of course, your mother obviously is successful, was successful because you are successful. It just shares a lot about putting your children first and what can happen. So we certainly applaud her, applaud the memory, applaud all that she has given to the world and that you're giving to the world and it comes through her. So thank you for that. So what would you say to, if you were to encourage a single parent, what would you say to a single parent that seems to be struggling right now? And sometimes it may not seem as though you're going to make it from day to day. What would you tell a young single mother or a single father?
To love their children tremendously and to always place your dreams in the child, in the sense that you give them the determination to keep moving on, because they're going to be, they take really baby steps, that's for sure. But the parent has the ability to see way past there, and by just giving them encouragement, I think that's what our parents really are here for, and keep us sort of focused on moving forward. Don't slide to the side and don't go backwards. That's right. Yeah, and just keep it going. And especially when you get those boo-boos where you feel like, I can't do that. I can't do that. You never know what's ahead of you.
Absolutely. And so look what has happened in your life, a doctor of radiology. That is so powerful. That is so profound, and it makes us so proud. It makes us so proud. It makes our community, it makes our country, it makes all that we are. And even as we stand on the shoulders of our ancestors and the great cloud of witnesses that are cheering us on. How did you land there? How did you know that was the route that you wanted to take? Was it planned, or did you? Let's talk about that.
Let's talk about that. Okay, well, at Walden, we had the ability to have an anatomy lab. And so I had a wonderful science teacher who asked me to dissect a worm, an earthworm. And some of our students, I'm sure they have dissected an earthworm, but she put my dissection on display.
Oh.
And so,
pretty impressive.
So that started it. And then she asked me to come in every afternoon to sort of assist with my classmates who may not get the anatomy the way I did, So that put me into that, but I didn't know what that was all about. I just thought it was interesting. But from there, I went on to Northwestern, and my major was biology, and so that was helpful. And from there, I ran out of money, basically. But I went to the State University of New York in Syracuse, and that was helpful as far as putting me in a situation where I had to choose a specialty. So we are all there, learning medicine, and 4 years of medicine training, and then somewhere about the third year, we have to pick, what are we going to do? Anesthesia, surgery, what are you going to do? So I realized that I liked radiology. Did I know? I was like, but it was a great specialty because I get to sit in a big dark room and look at all these images, and I thought, this is a life. While my colleagues were running around, but I don't think I really got it until I did my internship, and then I said, oh wow. So we went through all the different fields of radiology, and radiology is medical imaging. So, and everyone has had at least, in fact, I think that's my slogan. Everyone will have at least one X-ray before they, in their life, and we have a chest X-ray, or you had an ultrasound during birthing, or maybe you had a upper GI where you had to drink something and they looked at your intestines. So I found the whole thing so fascinating that we could actually see all these processes. So and so voila. But then my fellowship, I did a year of fellowship, and I didn't realize it then, but I was really a pioneer. We were doing CAT scan and ultrasound and MRI, the beginnings of MRI. But when I was not really introduced to breast imaging, it was like the first year on our boards and things like that. We were just starting breast imaging. So, but being a woman, being asked to go to enter a practice with all the other men in the group, they said, you're a woman, you should be doing the breast. So I said, okay, well, I'll do it. But so we use X-rays to do the mammograms, and that was the only utility, the only form of imaging that was available at that time. But as time moved on, we added ultrasound, and then we added MRI, and we added nuclear medicine. And so if you have had any kind of diagnostic workup of a breast cancer, usually you go through all of those modalities, and including PET scan, which has been added recently.
Amazing. We have a pioneer here, you all. That is so awesome. I mean, so you have seen how it has grown, it has developed, and
Yes.
it continues to evolve, right? And so you said something important, and we will still want to talk more about what breast examination is and the different types and the different modalities. But you said something important. You said in your journey in school that you ran out of money. And so that just proves, just a point where that money is a vehicle, it's a tool, but there is, when you are focused in your destiny and in your calling, God has a way of making everything that you need, it's there for you. And oftentimes people are just focused on the monetary, right? The money. But life is so much bigger than that, and your call and your destiny is so much bigger than that, because whatever God has for you, you're going to do it.
Yeah, that's a really interesting story that I used to tell a lot. You brought it up in my mind, my memory came back. When I was in Walden, I had a friend who was from, the Harlem area as well, and she was having some difficulties at home and had to leave the school. And to my surprise, she was on a full scholarship, ABC scholarship, and so I became the recipient of her scholarship. Wow. So that was truly a blessing, and I knew then that I was under a light, and I was, hopefully I deserved, I would honor that blessing.
And it's something you bring so much up. The fact that you honored it and you respect it and being grateful. Just having a heart of gratitude, being grateful, being thankful, it just opens up so much for you. And so I'm sure that was one of the things, and I'm sure there were many others that propelled you to where you are now in life. And we're certainly proud and grateful for you. So let's talk about, you talked about the community, how you think it's very important for our community and women to understand the importance of mammograms. And can you talk us through the different modalities and what that means and what a radiologist means versus going to an oncologist? And can you kind of help us to understand, just give us a quick understanding of what that looks like for women?
Okay. Well, usually women are, they may have a family history.
And I may say men too, excuse me, because men sometimes have breast cancer as well.
yes.
Is that true?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so.
Yes, and they have very aggressive cancers.
Wow.
So, yeah. So we, a lot has evolved because we're very short-sighted in the fact that we're only looking for, initially, we're looking for women who presented with breast cancer, as in they came with a mass, or they came with blood coming from their nipple, or they came with one breast looks larger than the other, or they come with the lumps under the arms, So those are the physical kind of findings that you might see, or maybe your skin looks a little weird, And so then we would work them up from there. But what we found is that when we were trying to work these ladies up, patients up, that they would be very late stage, and they would need to have chemotherapy and mastectomies, and it just, we were chasing the cancer. So as time moved on, we used the radiology sources to detect cancers early. So with mammography, we take 4 films of the breast, and everyone calls it the pancake technique.
Yes,
but we
that we hate. Yes.
But it is very necessary, and for most ladies, it's only once a year. And most men, we do the mammogram on the men too, and it's uncomfortable for them because they don't really have a lot of fat in the chest wall. But in either case, it must be done. So, and that's what you have to put in your mind. This must be done.
Yes.
It's not going to, the breast isn't going to fall off because you smashed it a little bit. So, and so we take that 4-view mammogram, and we can look for, the first thing we want to look for really is calcifications. Most ladies and men, I'm sorry, I say ladies all the time because we're sort of dominant ladies, but when we're, and I'll talk about that later, but for men, we are always looking directly for cancer. For the females, we're going through the screening process with the hope of finding early cancer. That's how we sort of grade it, whereas men are not expected to have a mammogram unless they have.
And when you say
something wrong.
calcification, what do you mean when you say that?
Okay, so calcifications are little bright dots in the field. The breast is very, there's not much to it, like, when you have you don't see really organs in the breast. What you see is parenchyma, which is densities. We call them densities. So some ladies have a little bit of density. They're predominantly fatty. Some ladies have a mixture of fat and density, which is, the density is the actual breast acinar material that makes the milk. And
So is density good in a breast? Is that?
No, density is not so good.
Okay.
But it's normal. So
Okay.
if you have a lot of density, you fall into a category where we can't find the cancers until they become a certain size. It's like the cloudy day. You can't see the sun. You're like, where is it? So we have to use other tools to be able to detect that that mass is there. So we've, through the years, have come to understand that, dang, I can't see anything. It's all white, it appears white. So if that's the case, then we can take the patient now and we use ultrasound to be able to see other parts. But usually in an average woman, average patient, you'll see these densities, and then you'll see little bright spots in there. And the little bright spots, and some of them are very tiny, they're called microcalcifications. They are they're in a configuration that might look like a line, or it might look like a swiggle, or maybe it looks like it's a collaboration. And the more wild and crazy it looks, the more likely that this is a patient that is at high risk. In the case of the density, if the density is very, very bright and very dominant, and where's the fat? I don't see anything that looks like fat. Those patients need to be worked up in a different way, because mammography is only going to pick up maybe 25 to 35% of their cancers. And so we need to use another tool. So we go with ultrasound.
Okay.
So that's calcifications, and then there are masses, which are, and the masses, I think that's the thing that's changed over the years. And we always thought that, we could just feel around, and we'd put the patient in all different directions and try to feel the breasts and everything. But we realized that our fingertips are not really sensitive to the very small nodules, and that cancer doesn't care whether we can feel it or not.
Wow.
It starts in the duct. And that's what we've learned as time went on, is that this duct that goes from the chest wall to the nipple is where the cancers are going to lie. And so don't be so ignorant. The thing is going to go all the way to the nipple. So now we understand, and we treat it and try to discover it in an aggressive manner. So that's the other part. So we're also looking for so we have the masses, the calcifications, the densities, and then there's something called architectural distortion. So architectural distortion is a little bit more like, but it's difficult to describe. But the breast has true anatomy, and when we first started, we were like, okay, there's a nipple and there's a chest wall and there's something in the middle. And now we understand that there are true anatomical sections of the breast, and that we must look at every single part, including the skin. Wow. So we can see these things, and especially with the cross-sectional imaging, the CAT scan. Well, we don't use CAT scan so much, but MRIs, you can see the skin, the armpit. You can see a lot of things that we could not see at one time. And we can actually look at the anatomy of the nipple. So it's a great tool, great tools.
I'm so glad that we've come far, and I know we still have more to do, but still we're at a great place as it relates to discovering cancer, prayerfully in a timely manners. And so I want to ask you about this. Years ago, when I was much younger, there was a thought that women didn't need to have a mammogram until they were like 40 years old or something. Yeah. And so that has been problematic, because there are younger women that are dealing with breast cancer. And so let's talk about the change and why it's so important to get a mammogram, and what age is recommended now.
I did do a little research, because that is problematic. As I said, we started off, we would do breast examinations on the patients and then do the mammogram, and then we came to understand that we were way behind the 8 ball. So then we started to break it down into, okay, what age groups do we think should be having a mammogram? Because everybody can't have a mammogram, And more, this is the bosses talking, because they're like, well, you're going to take every woman and put them, no, that's too much money. So we tried to break it down. So we do have several organizations that give recommendations for breast screenings. So the American Cancer Society is one that's very familiar to people. The American College of Radiology, which is who boarded me, and then we have the American College of OBGYN, of obstetricians and gynecologists. So, they feel that the beginning of screening should start at the age of 40.
Still 40.
Yeah. We have, because of the fact that we have so much, DNA evaluations, which, you know, sometimes we're looking for our heritage and our lost relatives. They brought, what came from that is that there is a lot of information that's on the gene that can be traced to people who should be screening, because grandma and everybody behind her had cancer. So so this has come out, and those are called BRCA genes. So there's a BRCA1 and there's a BRCA2. And initially we thought, oh, that is only for Mediterranean descendants, and then realized that, well, if you really look at the region of the Mediterranean, it's exactly who are they? So and if you include Egypt and that whole area, then who are we really talking about? So Black women are in danger of breast cancer, and they need to have the screening done. And often they don't have the BRCA because truly they cannot trace themselves all the way to that Mediterranean. But through our Israeli relatives, we have found that this is really dangerous, and that we should be doing this on people who might be 35 to 40 years of age, or maybe even younger. So so this has helped us a lot to determine who are the people that need to have mammograms from the beginning of 30. So that is open now to patients if they need, to ensure that they will get their insurance to pay for the mammogram, or that they have to go out and protest or whatever. So yes, so we're still kind of battling it because of the fact that medical costs have become very part of the everyday talk about how do you handle every single person having a screening for cancer. For the men are usually getting their gene from their mothers, the female side of their heritage, and they also get Paget's. They get diseases of the chest wall and the nipple. So it's very, they need to really be taking a look, going to the urologist if they don't feel, or maybe to their general doctor, and raising questions, especially if they feel that their nipples do look odd in some way. So, and their doctors can help them with the axillary examination. But yeah, it's a big issue that has been broken down by those groups, as I said. So the 32, well, the 35-year-olds are encouraged to at least know their history. And if they have a history, they can start to have annuals. 40 is the age where it is advised that you begin your screening examinations. And that's usually just a 4-view mammogram. Now we have digital mammography tomosynthesis, and so it is becoming more and more prevalent, and the 4-view mammogram is going out of style. But for some of us where we live in rural areas, or we live in places where there may be only city hospitals, we will be having the 4-view mammogram. And some don't have the tomosynthesis yet. The tomosynthesis allows you to have mammograms that are done almost like a CAT scan, but it looks like you're having a regular mammogram. But the machine can take images, slices, and so they can see. So you understand, because the calcifications are just that tiny, So we want to make sure we don't miss them, So, and then you have the people who are 45. 45 is sort of like you should be having annual screenings until you're 74. Not sure why they said 74, not 75, but anyway, 74.
Wow.
Yeah, annual screenings.
So you still can get, and that's a different thought too, I think, because At one time, maybe one of my physicians may have said after a certain age, you don't need any mammograms. So that's not true. You need to continue to get mammograms until you are.
Yeah, let me just check that out again because because I think that's one of the things that has really been very irritating is that as we learn something, then we have to relearn it because it keeps changing.
Yeah.
So the American Cancer Society says 40 to 44 begin your yearly mammos after discussion of risk. Okay, so not just go out there and start doing yearly mammos.
Right.
45 to 54, you have annual mammos recommended. And ages 55 to 60, this is where it changes, and this is recent. Every 2 years, you will have a mammo. Okay, but truly, I think if anything I learned through my training is that you must give patients individual attention. And so that sort of line of women waiting to go into the mammo room is intimidating. Believe me. And they may be saying hello to you.
They have a whole lot going on in here.
It's an intimidating line. Are all those for me? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
But the idea is that as they come through, they fill out a questionnaire. And so you should know a little bit about your family history. This is also, things that like the family reunions, like maybe we should have a little time that we talk about the medical things that have gone on with our families, during these family reunions,
That's good.
And it's important because some people, we're very private and we may not say, I just had radiation, for what, Mom? It could be your mother and she's not telling you. But it's just the idea that we can get through it, get that gut, and I'm going to be okay, But you also need to spread that news so that your daughter or your son knows that you had cancer at the age of 30. Oh my gosh. I should be screening,
That's alarming.
And so, and that's very important. After 70, I think I have to share this, after the age of 75, it depends on whether you have good health and that you have a life expectancy that is going to be at least 10 years from that point. So and now I don't know if you decide that, maybe you're talking about insurance, probably. If you're like in the hospital bed, you might not be having your mammogram every year anymore,
So as your age increases, you can decrease your breast imaging examinations.
Right. I mean, these are graphs, basically.
Okay.
I think that each person has to take it upon themselves to learn what their risks are. And the first mammogram, you're going to find out whether or not you have dense breasts. And if you're a dense breast candidate, then you're going to be asked to come back and have other examinations, which may not be mammograms, but just so we can screen you better, So those ladies usually sort of drop off and they're doing mammo, and then they'll have an ultrasound the next year. But they may end up having an MRI because their breasts are just that dense that we really can't do a good job with the mammogram or the ultrasound. So it really is something that is individually programmed. However, by the guidelines, start your mammograms at age 40.
Start your mammograms at age 40.
Yes.
Is that the same age for men as well? What do you recommend?
No, men don't screen.
Okay, so
No, they don't screen. The men are expected as they become, beyond puberty, they should be taking some type of a look, a physical look at their chest wall.
Yeah.
Are their nipples symmetric? Do they have any sort of deformity in the area of the axilla? Bring those arms up. Look at yourself in the mirror, and when you lift your arms, does one breast stay down and one go up?
Yeah.
I don't like to call it breast, but there's actual breast tissue in there. And so if you were to have to nurse your baby, you probably would grow a little bit of tissue there.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
but it's just interesting, and don't try it. But it's just be aware of the fact that the nipple is quite active, and so you should be looking at it, and you can press, and see if there's any kind of discharge coming out. Men should not have discharge coming out of the breast. Women, sometimes near ovulation and after pregnancy, of course, we have discharge coming out of our breast. And it's just a simple, squeeze. And if you see blood, you got to go to the doctor. And so, and the thing about screening is that it has taken people from waiting until the lump or the bump or the scratch is getting worse to now be aware of their bodies. We all should be aware, should look at ourselves. Most men are picked up because they have a testicular issue. And when they go to the urologist to have the testicular looked at, unprotected sex issues, they are now going to look at your chest, at your, they'll be looking at you all over. And so that is how men usually are picked up, or they do have good communication with their family members, and they found out that some of the women in their family have had breast cancer, so they need to be a lot more aware.
Thank you so much for this education, and my hope and my prayer is that men are getting the proper help and medical diagnosis that they need as well, because we so often hear breast cancer primarily with women. So thank you so much for sharing that. Let me ask you this: how can we advocate for ourselves as Black and brown people as we think about the disparities that exist in healthcare? Can you share some things of how we can advocate? Because a lot of times when a person of color is communicating with their physician, with their healthcare provider, some things are not heard. Sometimes a lot of things are not heard. So what would you recommend for when a person needs to advocate?
Well, I think that, when you're going to the doctor is not a magician. So you should do your own personal research, like, why am I going? Is it because I'm coughing? Am I coughing up blood? Is it yellow? What's causing the coughing? Am I a smoker? Think about these things, and maybe you don't have to be scientific about it. You just tell them, I noticed it for how long? That's the great question. How long? I don't know. Long time. No, not long time. Tell us the truth. I've been smoking cigarettes since I was 16, and whatever the story is, tell the story. Make a little note, because when you get in front of doctors, sometimes they like, got a whole bunch of time. Nobody has I'm serious. It's a long line. Like I said, with the mammograms. Oh my gosh. So you need to be upfront, and you need to have some idea of why did you come today. If it's just a regular general physical, that's okay too. I'm good, but you risk the fact of saying I'm good, and your doctor may have overlooked certain things. If you're the one who has the mole right behind the two buttocks in the back, he may not see that. He may not even get to that area of the body, And for Black people, we have a lot of moles, and we have things that may not be seen unless you take off the shirt and the tie and the undershirt, So this is, I think that's one of the things I would say you need to do. And the other thing, of course, as I said, is sometimes when you're having those family reunions, sort of go through who may have been sick that year, what they might have had. And it's hard to share sometimes, but it goes a long way.
It's so helpful for our generations. And that's something, thank you for that tip, because even as we're speaking today and talking to our audience, that may be something that we all can start implementing in our family reunions. Let's have a health moment, right?
True.
Let's talk about our health condition or conditions that we are dealing with now, the ones that we have dealt with in the past, so that we can be educated and be more informed. Thank you for that. Wonderful tip.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you would like to share? Do you have any final words for our audience on this morning?
Oh, let me just check my little notes here. I think I have, we've hit on quite a few. I think that the interesting part of my journey is that that I started off when doing radiology, diagnostic imaging, we call it, medical imaging, at a time when mammography was not even thought of. And that, and then by the time I finished my training, they had mammography. And my pediatric doctor, she was teaching me pediatric imaging, she became a mammographer. Instead, she became a breast imager. And so this is evolving. This is not static. We don't know everything yet. And so if you allow yourself to realize that no, we are experts in our field, but it's transient, and that we also need to go back to school and learn a little bit more. Yeah. So the more we hear from the community as to what your needs are, and the more you really put them down and demand certain things, that there be a doctor in every school, there be someone on call, just in case. These type of things are important for us because we may not have access to a pediatrician. We may have to go all the way over there to get a pediatric visit. So that school nurse, wow, that's almost unheard of now. So these are things that we have to have one voice about, and the other thing is to be aware of what members of your family are going through, regardless of their need to be private. To just give them a heads up that, hey, I'm here, how's it going, and maybe they will share some of what's happening, and you can actually learn from them, and they learn from you. But and that medicine is a big field, and it's scary, and I become infantile when I have to go to the doctor. So don't find nothing, doctor. But,
right.
But in the end, it is a great relationship to have, and you're so grateful when there is someone who actually says, hey, I found something, I think that you might need this, and they teach you and help you through the ropes, because you thought that little mole on your arm was just a mole, and it actually is a precancerous nodule.
Thank you. So making sure that we're examining our own body.
Yes.
Take responsibilities for ourselves.
Definitely.
We are our best advocate.
Yes.
Listen, the Word of God says, dearly beloved, I wish above all things that you prosper and be in good health, even as your soul prospers. We speak health, wealth, and prosperity to you in every area of your life. God bless you. Thank you for joining, and we'll see you again on next week.